Good evening. I would like to call to order the April 16th, 2018 Lake Washington School Board meeting. Before we go any further, I'd just like to let you know that this projector currently is not working. So on that side, you will be able to see what is happening. We are recording everything, but unfortunately this one isn't currently working. And we can see it all right here, luckily, so, because I couldn't see that board. All right, so for the first thing, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the April 16th agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Carlson that we approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Here, all those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And then we'd like to move to our host school. Dr. Pierce, will you introduce our host school this evening?
I am very happy to introduce our host school. So our host school this evening is Kirk Elementary, and Monica Garcia is principal of Kirk Elementary, and she's here to get us started and introduce our team.
I'm going to wear the readers just so I actually see.
Is your microphone on, Monica?
What was that?
Do we have your microphone on?
Is the microphone on? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board and Dr. Pierce, thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you about a community that is near and dear to my heart. I'm Monica, the school principal, and with me is my trusty sidekick, Ian Maver. He's our associate principal at Peter Kirk. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to share a picture of what Peter Kirk is and who we are as a building. I'll share with you our vision of student learning and success, as well as provide an update on our continuous improvement activities and provide a peek behind the data curtain to get a full insight into who we are as Peter Kirk. We are parked in the heart of the Kirkland community, located between 405 and Lake Washington. Our building is secluded. It's tucked away and surrounded by greenery. The layout of our current building faces inward, so there's a real sense of purpose and common shared belonging. We're also the heart of our community. We are primarily a walking school. With only one bus serving students who live west of Market, the people who attend Peter Kirk live very nearby and access the school grounds on the weekends and in the evenings. Visit Peter Kirk before school and after school, and you'll notice the sizable number of parents who linger outside, just kind of chatting and connecting with each other. Visit during school hours, and you'll note the number of parent volunteers on deck, working with individuals and with small groups of students on reading skills and math fluency. Note as well the number of parents who dedicate their time presenting art lessons as docents and as artists in residence. I often share the story of my first weeks at Peter Kirk. As the newest member of the crew, I couldn't figure out who actually worked there as an employee and who was a volunteer. There were so many people there who had purpose and they were doing meaningful work with kids. They were all wearing badges. It really was hard for me as the newbie to figure out, okay, are you an employee? So I just had to learn everybody's names. This partnership was and continues to be simply kind of the natural way of being at Peter Kirk. When selected to serve as the Peter Kirk principal, I met with individual staff members to just listen and learn. I began to hear key words and phrases surface over and over and over again, and what surfaced were the ideas of community, collaboration, and creativity. This word cloud was created using those initial notes from those meetings. The next word cloud was created last spring as part of our building design process, and you'll note that there's some overlap. The same ideas of creativity, community, and collaboration come through in the work that we do with our community as well. Parents, members of our local community, grandparents, classified and certificated staff, administrator, and students are in this together. Collectively, we're committed to the well-being and success of all who work and learn at Peter Kirk Elementary. Because we value community, collaboration, and creativity, a visitor will experience a warm welcome and a shared sense of pride in our students and in their success. Students who attend Peter Kirk can expect to be met where they are. They can expect to be challenged beyond their immediate and self-perceived limits. And they can feel the comfort and commitment of each adult who either volunteers or works within the building. They also find interesting paths to explore. There's all kinds of opportunities through our before and after school program, and the interests of teachers and parents are brought into the school throughout the day. Families can expect to feel connected to families and to other staff, or to other families and to staff. Then they can find meaningful ways to contribute as members of our PTSA, volunteers in the classroom, and as partners in their children's education. In partnership with families and the wider community, With the commitment of a caring staff, we nurture people who are well-rounded, compassionate, and globally aware. As part of our SIP monitoring process, we noticed that intermediate students were really struggling with basic math fact fluency. Ms. Matricano, one of our 5th grade teachers, initiated a weekly math clinic. It's completely voluntary. All 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students are welcome to attend. And in addition to fact fluency, she decided to provide support that students identified as areas that they need themselves. So they identify a concept and they come to this group. Clinic is open to all students, and it's open to students as well who identify as strong math students. During clinic, students receive one-on-one support not only from the teacher, but from those peers as tutors. Clinic runs through spring and is held one morning a week. At this point, the success of the initiative is measured mostly through student feedback. One student commented, "Math Clinic helped me to learn my times tables, and that meant that I could do my fractions much easier." The comments in blue are from students who are there seeking support. The green are from students who are serving as tutors. A peer tutor commented, "I came to help people, but it helped me too. When I was explaining how to do something, I had to think about the words that made sense, and that was sometimes difficult. But when I got it and my classmate understood it, I felt great." So our students who are there as peers are actually learning as they help to teach their friends. Feedback from participants seems to indicate that students are feeling more confident with skills and concepts that they've self-identified as a result or as areas for improvement. And based upon the positive response, the sense of success and support students are feeling, we're exploring opportunities to continue Math Clinic throughout next year. Peter Kirk is a high-achieving school. Our primary team works collaboratively to monitor student learning and to adjust learning needs, just like every other elementary school in our district. This year we noticed, well, actually last year it began, we noticed that there were a handful of emerging readers who needed just a little bit more support, but they didn't need enough. Their skills weren't lagging so much that they needed to be in an intervention program. So in partnership with our PTSA and the Lake Washington Schools Foundation, a pair of 1st grade teachers launched a reading club. This group meets twice a week for 8 weeks, and we hold 2 sessions throughout the school year. The goal is to promote academic success in fluency and accuracy through phonics, sight word recognition, and fluency practice. Reading Club provides parents and students with strategies to employ at home 5 nights a week. And then that home practice builds, we're seeing an increase in accuracy, fluency, and confidence. So our results. On the right, you'll see the results for this year. Research shows us that typically developing readers should increase fluency by 2 words per minute per year. Thanks to the commitment of the teachers, Mrs. Frost and Ms. Higgins, our current cohort has increased their reading fluency an average of 30 minutes per week, with the highest gain of 54 minutes per minute. 30 minutes per week is not very fast. Let's just acknowledge that. In 8 weeks, students gained an average of 3.8 words per minute per week. It's almost double the growth we would see for a typically developing reader. And so we're starting our 2nd round this week and look forward to ongoing success with that next group. As you're aware, when crafting goals for continuous improvement plans, we look to identify groups who demonstrate patterns of performance or behavior that are different from their peers. Last spring, Mr. Maver and I noticed that male students were being sent to the office with what appeared to be a higher frequency than girls. We'll share those results in just a moment. We're also concerned that male students of color were being disproportionately referred to the office for unsafe recess behavior. So to better understand the situation, we instituted a system for tracking behavior. It's more a system for tracking behavior, and it's not something that a student would receive like, here's an incident slip for being bad. It was just really a tracking piece, and Mr. Maver will share.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. So we instituted the tracking system, and again, this was based on the feedback and the conversations Monica and I were having, where we perceived that there was something that was happening. So we started tracking the data. During our first period of data collection, we started this 1 year ago. We collected data from April 2017 until June of 2017, and during that 3-month period, we collected 474 total recess slips.
By the way, we have a student population of about 560. That's a lot.
That's more than we wanted. But the thing that really stuck out to us, of those 474, 412 of them came from male students. what this data showed to us was that there was a need for some systemic changes and some education for our recess staff that was monitoring students. What we also noticed was that majority of the data came from students who collected 3 or more recess incident slips. For instance, if you observe in the kindergarten data, there were 31 students who got 3 or more in kindergarten, whereas in first grade you had about 16 students who collected 3 or more. The most common reason students were getting slips: unsafe behavior or failure to follow the school rules. The largest group of students that had tracked behavior were our kindergarten students with 192. So we noticed that the majority of the recess behavior slips were coming from repeat students. So we shared this data with our staff at the beginning of this school year. And from that, the term frequent flyer started to be used. And that's when we had a conversation as a staff. What are we saying when we say that? So we decided to call frequent flyers any student who has 3 or more. And it was at that time we came to the conclusion you're 7 times more likely under this current system to get a recess slip as a male than as a female. So because of that, based on this data, based on the discussion with recess staff, based on our feedback with each other, we decided that we were going to make some changes for this coming school year. And some of those goals we'll have Monica talk to you about.
So we set the goal to reduce the number of recess slips initiated for male students let me start that one over. Our goal was to reduce the percentage of male students generating recess slips by 35%. We put in place a system where there were classroom visits. We went to every classroom at the beginning of the year, talked about expectations. Students were invited to the playground and received on-the-spot training from the recess staff. We also had conversations among staff about what is appropriate play, what does it look like, sound like, feel like, and we had coaching conversations as well. In previous years, children who appeared to be fighting would be sent to the office for discipline with a few follow-up questions. What looked like fighting was often, not always, but frequently a game of something called like Ninja Tag or Star Wars Tag. While working with students who were more often than not male in kindergarten or first grade, it became evident that their behavior was not a function of disagreement, rather a commitment to their role in the world as a ninja. Another example can be found on the soccer field. We noticed that there were a couple of students being reported really regularly as being aggressive on the soccer field. Specifically, we received reports that they were being kicked and some were stealing the soccer ball. With a bit of detective work, we figured out that what was really going on was soccer. And that by nature, you steal the ball in soccer and sometimes you get kicked. So there was a bit of an information conversation with not only staff, but with some students. In both examples, understanding the context of behaviors helps provide a space for us to have instructional conversations with the students and with adults, and to hold everyone accountable for respectful and appropriate play. Additionally, it helps to refine practice for the staff who supervise recess. And Mr. Maver is now going to share the outcomes.
So the outcomes of this work and collecting of this data. In the blue, we have last year, April to June of 2017, and then we have our last reporting period, January to the present. And the total number of slips that were collected, 244. 158 of them coming from male students, 86 of them coming from female students. This represents a 51% reduction in the total number of recess slips. This also, whereas 87% of the slips before were completed for male students, this time we're down to 65% being completed for male students. That represents a 22% reduction. That's towards our goal of 35%. But of particular note, I want to pay attention to the frequent flyer information because, as Monica was talking about with our goal, the systemic changes that we needed to make in the information about our expectations for students needed to improve. So in the previous year in kindergarten, we had 31 students who collected 3 or more recess slips, whereas this year's current kindergartners there were 14 students who collected 3 or more. Looking at cohort data, those same 14 students that are current first graders, 5 of them have collected 3 or more. The current second graders, last year in first grade, there were 16 individual students who collected 3 or more. This year, 1. Last year in second grade, we had 11 individual students. This year in third grade, we only have 8. So we're seeing a reduction almost at all levels, looking at our cohort data. And I think the best part for us, this gets beyond the data, and this gets down to the individual student level of how can we better support that individual student with what's happening not only out at recess but elsewhere in the building. So the next steps for this school year, we're going to continue to collect data with our refined approach. And part of that approach is to get the information back to the teachers as quick as possible. We found that for students second grade and younger, if you ask them what happened 20 minutes ago, sometimes you get an answer, sometimes you don't. And so being able to help them directly in the moment we found was the best way to help them learn. An important note, we have started construction. What this means for Peter Kirk is that our playground area has become much smaller. So in anticipation of this, those systemic changes that Monica was talking about, we moved to a 3-lunch schedule, and we never have any more than 2 grade levels out at recess at a time. We anticipated that there would be a spike in our recess data simply due to lack of space for certain games. So in anticipation of this, we've been trying to provide clearer expectations and guidelines for students in these playground areas. And we're very hopeful for our data collection from April through June.
Let's skip ahead one more. So when trying to capture the heart of the school, data is not the only tool for storytelling. Data helps us to monitor student learning, to set goals, to diagnose struggles, and to celebrate quantifiable successes for student learning and changes in student behavior. In getting to know a school, though, there's another piece, and that's what happens behind that data curtain. I want to make sure that you're aware of the generosity of spirit that binds our community together. Through partnership with our PTSA, the spirit of volunteerism is nourished by celebrating students who give time and commit in the community and within the school. Our Eagles in Action program promotes and acknowledges students who devote their own time to helping others through community service. It's a highly popular activity. A few examples of the initiatives that students have initiated this year include Trash for Cash, a program that grew from 4th grade girls who just noticed garbage on the playground. Together, these 4 young ladies developed a plan that included, what supplies do we need? How do we promote it? How do we train peers? And they promote this program to pick up trash during recess. They also secured funding with matching grants to celebrate success. And the plan calls for students who earn money for Trash for Cash to donate it to a charity of their choice. So it's a double win. Another slice of Peter Kirk life that data doesn't always cover or capture are the actions and behaviors and attitudes that preserve that sense of community at Peter Kirk. This spring, a group of girls came to me and launched the Ladies and Lads Lunchtime Reading Club. All are welcome to join the group, and the student organizers identified books, created advertisements, met with the principal, and identified a spot to meet. This program, again, conceived and developed entirely by students, meets a need that some students have to find a quiet time to read and discuss books that they love. And so they have a little corner of the playground where they sit and chat. Finally, well, not finally, I've got one after this, but I would be remiss in failing to fully acknowledge the school-family connection that makes Peter Kirk very special. The Peter Kirk community, inclusive of staff, parents, grandparents, volunteers, and local business people, are in a well-bonded partnership. We have shared goals for assuring student well-being and safety. Collectively, we promote student social, emotional, and academic success, recognizing that our students are best served by a focus that includes the world beyond the school walls. My goal this evening has been twofold. First, to share with the board the values and work of Peter Kirk. Second, I hope that in some way you have a glimpse of what it's like to be a part of our community. At its heart, Peter Kirk are the people. We are committed, we are compassionate, and we are caring. We are people who persevere for student success, and therefore we persevere for the common good. Prior to spring break, we broke ground on Peter Kirk 2.0, a new modern building that will be nestled in that same greenery in the heart of Kirkland. Once again, on behalf of our community, I'd like to thank our community for support with the bond. I look forward to opening a new building with increased capacity, and in the process, I'm committed to assuring that all that makes Peter Kirk an amazing place to learn, work, and play is carried into that new home. How wonderful it will be for the outside of our building to match the warmth, joy, success, and connection that characterizes the heart of who we are. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your support of our community.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I greatly appreciated the use of data and how you worked through that program. That was very fun to hear, so thank you, and excellent work. Okay, so now we will be recognizing the Meritorious Budget Award. So Dr. Pierce.
Great. Thank you, Siri. I'd like to invite Barbara Posthumus, Associate Superintendent, to come forward. And we've got a brief presentation here to share with the community. And again, just want to apologize for our technology this evening. The presentation that we're about to show is going to be a side screen, so I invite you once we get the slides up to direct your attention to the side screen, and of course we can see the presentation here in front of us, and our viewers on television will be able to see it as well.
Presentation up. Do you have the board folder? Yeah. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I invited Barbara to step forward, both to help me click and to provide her, as well as other members of the team, some well-earned recognition. So Barbara's going to launch the slide here from the first part. Great, thank you. So in my service as superintendent, one of the things I am most proud of is our sound financial management and fiscal responsibility as a school district. For the past several years, we have been on a journey to earn the Meritorious Budget Award, and I'm pleased to share that we have earned the award for this year. So what is the Meritorious Budget Award, and how do you earn it? Well, physically, Barbara's holding it up here. It's a very nice plaque that we received, and there's plenty of room on that plaque not only to have earned the award for this year, but also for years in the future. So if you want to click to the next slide, Barbara, the Meritorious Budget Award, we did share this news in a press release on March 30th, but this has been our first board meeting opportunity to really share the news with the public. So the district earned the Meritorious Budget Award from the Association of School Business Officials International for our 2017-18 budget in recognition of our preparation of an accessible and accurate budget to build trust and clear communication with our stakeholders. Go ahead, Barbara. So I just wanted to spend a minute to highlight how this award connects to our values and goals as a district. So you can see one of our values is being community connected, and on those outside rings, it says parent engagement, public participation, and transparency and accountability. And we believe strongly in being as transparent as possible with our public and being accountable, especially for the dollars and how we use them. And so you can see one of our strategic goals is to use our resources effectively and be fiscally responsible, as well as to engage our communities. And so this award really aligns to that value and these goals. Go ahead, Barbara. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that we have shared in the past just globally around our fiscal responsibilities as a district, and then highlight a couple aspects from the budget document itself, as well as the annual strategic plan document that should be arriving in homes shortly, that highlights some of our results. So we are constantly looking for how we can save money and ensure that we're being as responsible as possible with the resources of our community. In 2014, we did some bond refinancing, took advantage of our great credit rating, which I'll talk about in just a minute, to save our taxpayers $17.3 million. In 2015, based on our sound financial practices, our credit rating was upgraded. S&P upgraded us to a rating of AA+, and we continue to earn what's the elite Moody rating of AAA. This is the highest credit rating of any school district in the state. It's only shared by 2 other school districts, Bellevue and Issaquah. In 2016, we then did an additional refinancing, again taking advantage of our great credit rating to save our taxpayers an additional $6.9 million. These are just a couple of examples of what we do. Now, the award that I'm talking about tonight is really for how we're presenting information to our public in a usable and readable form, and being very clear about where our resources come from and where are they going. So if you go to the next slide, just another step on our journey, this is something that we've been working on for a number of years. And when I say we, it's been our business office, it's been our communications department, it's been me. Yep. It's been many of us working toward earning this recognition for the district. We did earn the pathway to the Meritorious Budget Award for our 16-17 budget. And again, this is the first year we've earned the actual award. So I mentioned a couple of documents. The document on the right that says the 17-18 budget, this is actually the document that we submit to the reviewers, the review team to earn the award. So that's our budget document. And typically a school district budget can look like it's called an F-195, and it's not a very user-friendly, community-friendly document. It's not that easy to understand. That's our requirement to have that document, but we believe in going above and beyond that baseline requirement and presenting information to our public in a manner in which they can actually understand it. And that's why we are earning the award. And it's not only that we're presenting the information, but we're making the argument and presenting evidence that we are using resources effectively to accomplish our goals. We publish another document every year called Strategic Plan Update and Annual Report. That's the document that you see. It's just the first page of it that you see on the left side of the screen. That will be arriving in homes shortly. And so a couple slides I just want to highlight tonight are from both of these documents. So if you go to the next slide, this is actually an infographic that we include on the Strategic Plan Annual Report. And what this shows on the left side, it shows that as a district, we receive lower funding than the average large school district in the Puget Sound area. And on the right, it shows we spend a higher percentage of our funds on teaching than average. So you can see on the chart there we are lowest Lake Washington School District in terms of our funding per pupil, revenue per student. And then on the right side, we spend the highest percent of general fund on total teaching. So we believe strongly in channeling the resources to where they're going to make the most difference for our students, and we know that is in our classrooms. The next slide you'll see is one from our budget document, and what this shows is where our money goes in terms of expenditures. So just one thing to highlight here, this shows you, again, total teaching, 74.9%. It shows the percent of building administration, 6.9%, maintenance and operations, central administration, 4.9%. That's the lowest percent of spending on central administration than all districts in Washington State over 20,000. So that's a low number, and when you think about a district our size with nearly 30,000 students, we have 16 directors and 9 associate directors supporting all of the work in the district at the lowest percent spending amongst large districts over 20,000 in the state. So another accomplishment to highlight there. If you go to the next slide, this is a page out of the budget document, and what this shows is not only our 5 strategic goals, but the objectives associated with each goal. And so the budget document is organized around how we're making strategic investments aligned to our objectives to accomplish our goals. So every year we do a public presentation as part of our presenting the budget to the board and to the community. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of slides. You'll see them again this year when we present the budget. But what we do every year is we take each strategic goal and objective and we specify what resource, if there's additional resource that we're investing to accomplish that goal, that gets highlighted here. And we have a running record of those strategic investments from the previous year as well. So what this slide shows you, this is again from last year. You'll see an updated slide when we bring you the budget this spring. But for our goal to ensure academic success for every student, and our objective to provide rigorous, relevant, and effective curriculum and assessments, the top part of the slide shows you the work that we've been doing over the past several years, and then the bottom of the slide shows if we're building in additional investment of resource to accomplish that goal in that year's budget. So, for example, last year we invested an additional $205,000 for musical instrument repair, for training for our K-5 writing curriculum, and for training for our K-12 science curriculum. Then if you go to the next slide, we also remind the community here in this presentation of resources that we invested in the previous years. So you can see on this slide again what we invested in 14-15, 15-16, and 16-17. So each year we add to that. Again, the goal here is accountability and transparency so people know where the money is going and that it's being well spent and targeted toward the benefit of students to overall accomplish our mission and vision. So we just wanted to spend a couple of minutes tonight celebrating the accomplishment of earning the Meritorious Budget Award. And again, I want to thank Barbara and give Barbara an opportunity to thank members of her team and also thank Shannon and the Communications Department for their work in this as well.
Yeah, great. As Dr. Pierce mentioned, we've spent many years, or more than a few years working, and I appreciate your support as we've changed the budget document over these years. And but the Association of School Business Officials that gives out this award, a national, there are districts all across the country that apply and receive this award. So we're very pleased to be part of that exclusive group. So, and I do want to thank my budget manager, Lynn Pike, and her team for all the work that they put into this. And again, Shannon and the Communications Department. It's not a one-person effort. It takes many, many people to do this. So we're very pleased of the work that we have done. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a great accomplishment over the course of this year. Remember, it was first discussed, actually, about 3 to 4 years ago. So it's exciting to finally be there. And if you haven't had the chance to look at the budget, it actually is an interesting read, and it aligns well with our strategic goals and helps to really sort of outline what that process is. So excellent job by staff. Thank you very much. Okay, so now our next step is that the board is in receipt of a board appeal of a student disciplinary action. I would like to ask if Mr. and Mrs. Abram Profeta to step forward, please. Hi. So WAC 392, hold on, that's fine. WAC 392-400-255 provides that if the grievance is not resolved at the building level grievance meeting, or the grievance to the superintendent of the district, the student, parent, or guardian shall have the right to present a written and/or oral grievance to the board of directors during the board's next regular meeting. So following your 15-minute presentation to the board shall notify the student, parent, or guardian of its response to the grievance within 10 school business days after the date of the board meeting. At this time, if you could please introduce yourself and present the information you would like for the board to consider, and we will set aside those 15 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Pierce. My name's Lisa Abram Profeta. I'm a parent in I believe we're in the Juanita community. I have 3 students at Sandburg Elementary, and tonight I'm speaking to you about our 3rd grader. He's our middle son. And I won't take up the 15 minutes entirely. I just wanted to give you a couple of the highlights. I do have a letter that I can leave with you. Not sure where to leave it, but I can do that after I'm finished. The reason I'm bringing it this far, I guess, is because rules are such a serious part of the life of our son, given where he's coming from with his particular set of disabilities. It gives him the consistency. It allows him to grow and sort of work towards those goals in the IEP that he has. And if we can't assure him that rules were followed in implementing the suspension, we have a harder time really keeping this as a really valid lesson for him and really growing with it. Essentially what happened, there was a disturbance in class. He was brought down to the principal's office, got calm enough, returned to class. There was an interaction with another student who ended up hurting him, and in response, there was another disruption. Now, the principal has stated she wasn't going to implement a suspension for the first disruption, but it was the second one that sort of tipped it over the edge. So there's a few different ways we can look at it, right? Was everything handled appropriately up to the point of returning to class? Not exactly. Was everything handled appropriately thereafter? I would say very likely not, is what I would argue. A few of the rules that I've found that do apply, of course, since he's a student with an IEP with special education services, he's protected under the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004. Principal has been aware of that. She's been at his IEP meetings. A couple of the district policies, I will refer to them as the different file numbers that they're listed on. File JG, prior to imposing the suspension or other corrective action, they're required to consult with whoever manages the IEP or maintains the 504 plan. He has an IEP, special education resources, and the teacher were not consulted. The special ed teacher was present for part of what happened, but he was not consulted as to whether these actions arise out of his disability. And it's very arguable that yes, they do, given what's in the letter, and you'll read about his background and what that involves. Further, file JG-R, section C2. I am that annoying, I'm sorry. Prior to short-term suspension of any student, you have to have a conference with the student. Now, again, given his set of disabilities, how he understands verbally, multi-step directions, and self-regulation, impulsivity, he was already in a heightened state with a very stressful incident with an adult that he wasn't comfortable with because of previous interactions. There wasn't really going to be a way to get information through to him at that moment or to get information out of him at that moment. And I don't feel like that there was a really fair chance for that to happen. So that was another one. And again, back to file JG, suspensions or expulsions shall be used only for serious instances of student misconduct. And I'd like to highlight this particularly for the board, if I may. At no point did the principal, the teacher, or in subsequent interactions with the compliance officer for the district was this ever characterized as a serious instance of misconduct. I have been witness to and heard about multiple instances from all three of my kids, friends, and things like that on the playground, in the classroom, on school grounds that are far worse than this. In fact, my son has been injured on the playground subsequent to this incident, and excuse me, and effectively nothing was done. Nothing was imposed on the students who were ramming, kicking, punching, and shoving him. I was told that it was a game where everybody misunderstood the rules, but my son understood enough to say, please stop, I don't want to play. Still happened, and it's inconsistently applied. So there were just a lot of opportunities along the way in the whole process for the rules to be followed or things to get set back on the right course. They didn't. I just think given that he needs to have that extra information and that time to process, she's aware of it, it should have been done. And another piece that was also not done is how we were notified. She contacted a phone number that we've had deleted with the school and the district for a long time. I'm not sure where it came from, especially since she and I have spoken by phone several times on my cell phone, the correct number. If this was indeed a quote-unquote serious instance of misconduct, why would there only be one phone call? I don't have an answer, but if it was serious, I would think he would contact other emergency numbers and follow that kind of protocol. So another missed opportunity for your following the rules. Let's see, notice must be given no later than the date the decision to remove is made. The decision was made on the 6th to impose the suspension for the 7th. Obviously, I never received the notice of that until after school hours, which is effectively past the date that it was supposed to be, because school hours end at 3:30. I didn't find out until almost 4, in the pickup line and stopping traffic and all of this. There was no opportunity to follow process for us to even find out what processes were available to have a conversation or a discussion with the school. Sorry, I'm just referring to the rest of this. There was a very brief last-minute meeting the morning of the suspension, during which we found out more about what the suspension would entail. It also, again, went against everything that we know about and need to require for the IEP. He was going to be placed in a public area, sitting by himself with a packet of work. And if you are familiar enough with the IEP, he absolutely cannot do that and shouldn't do that. It's a recipe for failure for this particular child. And when I asked, could he have more supervision, I was told that basically no, because I need to be able to do my job. And I was a little confused because I thought that was part of what was supposed to happen, that if she implements it, she supervises it. I'm not clear on the rules on that particular piece. So overall, like I said, the rules are very important. We need to follow them for him and for all the kids. The protections are in place, particularly for somebody protected under the IDEA Act. And in the alternative, if the board cannot see its way to reverse the suspension, we would just ask that the board maybe reprioritize extra resources and training, perhaps highlighting some additional resources for teachers, administrators, district-wide in supporting these kids. There's rules in place, it's there for their protection, but it's not being done. And I would just like to highlight that for the board and for your consideration. Thank you so much. Where could I put this?
If you could hand it to Diane Jenkins over
Thank
there,
you.
she will make sure we can get a copy of that.
Oops, that does not belong to me.
So thank you very much for taking the time. So now we will move to public comment. On a monthly basis, the Board of Directors provides an opportunity for public comment during board meetings. The public comment period is a time reserved during our working meeting for the board to hear from the public. There are multiple avenues, in addition to public comment, for community members to share their comments, opinions, and or concerns with the board, including by email, phone calls, or letters. Please note that public comment is not a question and answer session with the board. The board and superintendent will not respond to community members during public comment, as our goal is to listen and to learn from you. Typically, the board will allow up to 30 minutes on the agenda for public comment, and if the number of people are signed up to speak on the same topic, the board limits the time devoted to a single topic to 30 minutes. If you are speaking to a subject that has already been raised by previous speakers, please focus on aspects of the topic that have not yet been addressed. That will help us to get a more complete picture of the situation. Each individual is provided up to 3 minutes to speak. In order to ensure that we hear from a variety of people, individuals cannot share or donate their time to others. When your name is called, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, giving your full name and school attendance area for the record. We do have a stoplight system that will show a yellow light when you have 1 minute left, and red signifies that your 3 minutes are up. Please wrap up at that point. It is important for all community members to feel welcome and safe during the board's business meeting. The board does not take public comments on issues related to personnel or individually named staff at board meetings. Audience members are expected to treat all attendees with respect and civility. So our first person signed up to address the board this evening is Linda Goret.
I have something that, yep.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Pierce. I've actually not been in contact with you. I was under the impression that John Holman was the superintendent, so I apologize. All of my communications have been with him and the board, so nice to meet you. My name is Linda Durrett. I am the homeowners president of Devereaux Homeowners Association. Our children go to the Snoqualmie Valley School District. I am here representing a few communities, Devereaux, Camden Trails, and there are a few homes north of Northeast 24th. In total, there's about 73 homes. We live in an area that's kind of this forgotten territory, and if you look on your maps, you'll see that. Our communities have petitioned several times over the last 15 years to become part of the Lake Washington School District. Back in 2007, we were annexed into the city of Sammamish, and we embraced that, and we're excited by that because we thought that automatically that meant that we were going to then become part of the Lake Washington School District. And even though the city of Sammamish supported that, it did not happen. So we currently belong to Snoqualmie Valley School District. I do want to say that they are an excellent district with excellent teachers, excellent quality education, but North Bend and Falls City and Snoqualmie are not our communities. So our kids currently, if you look on the second sheet, I'm kind of an old school girl, so I don't have got some paper, and I did email these things to you in the afternoon, but we currently, for the Lake Washington, we're walking distance to Lake Washington schools, where our children have to travel 15 miles to get to North Bend to go to school. And it just doesn't make sense to us. So, and having to travel that distance, our children are not participating socially or social networking with the kids that live in their community. We're just not part of the Snoqualmie Valley School District. And in fact, last year, our children were allowed to attend Lake Washington through variances, and then that stopped this year. And so then they were suddenly placed in a school district where they would otherwise have no sort of interaction with. So recently, I know that there has been an approval of many bonds and levies that would assist this district to incorporate our community into your district. That's what we believe. And I guess I'm trying to think over when I went to I'm on red, okay. I didn't see the yellow come up. So anyway, I did send this to you before, so hopefully you can, again, just kind of read through those notes and look at this with a fresh eye. I know some of you have probably seen our petition in the past if you've been on the board for more than 5 years. But to look at it with an open mind and hopefully and revisit the situation and make a decision in the best interest of our children, because that's who we are here. There's several people from the community that are here supporting this, and we've all come together because in the best interest of our children. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And so the next person I have listed is Louis Guaret.
It was kind of
It was a combined one?
It was
okay.
a joint effort, but then when you said that I couldn't borrow his time, I just asked him to.
All right. Thank you. And so the next person I have is B. Dinesh. So if you could please say your name and your school area would be great.
Yeah, my name is Bhagya. My last name is Dinesh, and I live in Sammamish, and my kids go to Blackwell Elementary, and my older one go to Inglewood, so it's East Lake Community. So the reason I'm with my husband here, just to advocate for my little youngest son. His date of birth is December 6, 2011, and he started going to a school called Synergy Learning Academy in Issaquah. So before I start the conversation, I have been in contact with the school, the principal, and then the principal directed me to the Director of Placement Services, and then Dr. Livingston, and then that has gone to Dr. Holman, and then to you, and then I have a reply which is kind of in moderation by Dr. Matt Livingston on Friday evening, but I still want the board to hear and kind of reconsider and make an exception. If things can be worked out, I would be really happy, but I'm not saying directing you to do yes or no at this moment, but I will wait and, be patient for my son. So, this is my first time to kind of come and talk to the public and, ask for justice. So I don't know how this is going to work. So he's underage by 3 months for kindergarten, but still when we put him in a private school, so he was kind of performing, way above his level. So they kind of transitioned him to first grade. So they gave him a placement test and he cleared for that, and then he got started on his first grade. So technically I did contact the school and also the Lake Washington School District, a couple of schools around asking, if he will get a similar grade placement. I was told yes. And I do have 3 or 4 parents of my own nationality who went to that school, and they are awarded the similar grade placement. But now, the officials are kind of denying, it was a mistake or it's against the school policies. I do not know how was that variance or exception made. So I'm not here to take out names or anything to the public, but I'm asking if things can be, read or listened through again. So when he appeared for the COGAT testing and the Quest placement testing, they did not consider the accreditation of the school. They just said that you have to live in the Lake Washington School District, and by grade he has to be grade 1 to get into the second grade placement test. And he cleared the first level COGAT with 99 percentile, and the second level, again 99, and then he just lost by 1 percentile of... Can I finish?
You can wrap up really quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, my question is by grade, which is kind of, they are testing on the end of second grade level for the COGAT, like the Quest placement test. My son cleared. So by skills, he definitely possessed that. But when I go into the school, they are not considering that he can be transitioned to similar grade. So when they kind of got him into the testing mode, they considered the school as an school. But when they are kind of doing like a transitioning to the placement, they do not consider. And I did contact OSPI and a private, the consultant at OSPI, and they really appreciated that I am in the Lake Washington school area, which is one of the most competitive district. And I've been here for 13 years, and I do not want to sell my house and move out of this area. I'm going to fight for him, but I want the school to make an exception or the board to waive the policy and kind of reconsider the placement decision. So I will wait for the board to let me know. And I did appeal to the accelerated program, but they denied because, it's like a little complex situation. It needs a little bit more one-on-one meeting, in-depth discussion for this. So I can kind of give this.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next person I have listed is Ryan Krishnan.
Hello, members of the school board. My name is Ryan Krishnan, and I'm a junior at Tesla STEM High School. In my time through elementary school at Samantha Smith, to Redmond Middle School, and then finally at Tesla, I've only been exposed to environmental science in my sophomore year with the AP Environmental Science class. And I think that in order to keep students informed about these pressing issues that will be relevant throughout their lives, we need to educate them starting in elementary school. So starting last summer, I developed Operation Sustain, an educational simulation game that teaches students about the basics of environmental science and climate change. I found that these digital natives would prefer learning in these interactive computer-based simulations, And in creating this game, students are tasked with creating a successful city by placing houses, farms, and energy sources, and making decisions for their citizens like their transportation choices and their taxes. And over the course of the game, they learn about renewable energy and pollution. So I decided to try and write curriculum based on it to educate them based on the next generation science standards. Then I applied for 30 old laptops from the LWC Tech Department to be donated. And then I piloted the curriculum with 2 fifth-grade classes from McAuliffe and then 1 second and third grade class at Rosa Parks, and found some really successful results. I quizzed them before and after and found that they more than doubled their initial scores. So they were actually improving and showing that they understood the science standards. But then I also talked with teachers afterward who said that this was the most engaged they'd ever seen their students. And one teacher in particular said that they thought that their students were getting caught up so much in having fun that they didn't even know that they were learning. So when I leave next year, I want to make sure that this initiative doesn't leave with me. And I would like to work with you to integrate environmental science education to elementary school curriculum so teachers can address these issues every year. LWC owes it to its students to prioritize sustainability in the classroom, as other districts are doing. And I invite you to go to osustain.org and connect with me to ensure that every student is future ready. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our next step is we will actually be taking a Oh, I'm sorry. We have one more person who would like to speak. Bob Yoder. I apologize.
Hello, board and superintendent. First, congratulations on all the wonderful things you've done. I think it was a great recap, and especially the award you got for the budget is awesome. I went to the budget meeting, and it's important that it is readable, and apparently you won the award because it's more readable. So I think that that's a real accomplishment. I looked for that award in the Redmond Reporter, and I couldn't find it. I did find it on the news in your website, so it's nice to get the word out. I really want to bring, the most important thing I want to say today is that the new superintendent that you're going to be hiring, our CEO, that I think it's really important that you involve the public in your decision-making process. I don't think we had that 6 years ago. We need to engage the public, especially the parents. So that's my number one ask, that you do that. And I think that we'll all be a lot happier from that. I did send you in writing what I thought about the high salaries that the administration has, the central administration. Mr. Stewart brought up a couple meetings ago that he thought maybe some of the money should be pushed down to the janitors, the teachers. I think some of the directors that interface with the schools. And, even shaving off 1% from the central administration would help. It's my understanding the directors make $169,285 per year. I think they could certainly afford to shave off 15 or 20% of their funds, of their salary. They also get a $2,000 telephone allowance. The associate directors get paid $153,300. You think they could shave off a few thousands, $10,000, $20,000. So please keep in mind the teachers, the janitors, the cafeteria folks, when you look at the budget, and keep them in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak for public comment who didn't have a chance to sign up? Okay. So we will now take a 15-minute break, and the meeting will reconvene at 8:16. Thank you. Do I gavel the little thing too? All right. Okay.
Dollars from Redmond Elementary PTSA to Redmond L to purchase electronic language translator devices. $16,002 from Rosa Parks PTSA to Rosa Parks Elementary for stipends for drama, choir, and extracurricular activities. $1,050 from Emily Hagan to Rosa Parks Elementary to purchase a buddy bench. $2,500 from Rose Hill Elementary PTSA to Rose Hill Elementary to purchase a bike rack and a memorial rock. $1,839 from Samantha Smith PTSA to Smith Elementary to support assemblies. $2,117 from Thoreau Elementary PTSA to Thoreau Elementary for outdoor education scholarships. $16,002 from Wilder Elementary PTSA to Wilder to provide stipends for math and science clubs, game club, and motor skills and enrichment club. $16,850 from Environmental and Adventure School PTO to EAS to support community stewardship projects, outdoor ed, and Wednesday electives. $4,500 from Evergreen Middle School PTSA to Evergreen Middle to purchase school agendas. $3,575 from Inglewood Middle School PTSA to Inglewood Middle to purchase novels and PE training equipment. $2,419 from North Star Parent Fund to North Star to purchase classroom supplies, site license for IXL Math, and to support the music program. $4,648 from Rose Hill Middle School PTSA to Rose Hill Middle to provide stipends for extracurricular activities. $1,516 from Stella Scola PTO to Stella Scola to provide classroom enrichment. $11,018 from International Community School PTSA to ICS for scholarships and criminal justice textbooks. $3,626 from the Juanita Rebels Booster Club to Juanita High School to provide music concert transportation and football training video. $7,768 from the Lake Washington High School Baseball Booster Club to Lake Washington High School to purchase batting cages. And finally, $2,000 from Lexus Echo Challenge to Tesla STEM High School to provide classroom enrichment. So a big long list tonight. Very generous donations totaling $131,120.
Well, thank you. And we'd like to personally thank everyone who has chosen to support our students in schools. And we greatly appreciate your generosity. It helps to have our students be future ready. So we are now moving on to our non-consent agenda, and our first item is the naming of the new school mascot for Clara Barton Elementary School. Dr. Pierce.
Great. So we had two similar situation recommendations because we have mascot names to bring before the board for both Clara Barton Elementary School and Ella Baker Elementary School. And you'll remember that just recently the names of those schools came before the board for approval, and part of our policy also speaks to mascots. So if you turn to tab 8, the situation for both, and we'll do each one separately, is that again, the names get submitted to the Board of Directors for approval. The board shall name the mascot based on the recommendation that comes forward, and our policy specifies that mascots shall be culturally sensitive and appropriate. So in terms of process, it follows the very similar process to naming the actual facility, where students are met with by the principal. Students nominate mascots that meet our guidelines. Committee of parents, students, and staff. It's students on the secondary pare down the list. That list is then shared with the board for review, and once those names are reviewed and approved at that level, they go on a ballot, and students get to vote. And the final names we have to present for your approval this evening. So we will start with Clara Barton Elementary School. Sure, John can come forward here, and we'll do the drum roll, please. But the final names for Clara Barton that were on the ballot for students in terms of their mascots. So students voted between Bulldogs, Cardinals, Wildcats, and Bobcats. And the winning name, drum roll please, was...
The Clara Barton Bobcats.
So the recommendation is for the board to approve the nominated mascot, Bobcats, as presented as the mascot for Clara Barton Elementary School.
Move approval. Second.
All right. It has been moved by Director Carlson and seconded by Director LaLiberty that we approve the nominated mascot, Bobcat, as presented as the mascot for Clara Barton Elementary School. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Excellent.
The Bobcats.
Okay. The Bobcats. Thank you. Okay. Similarly, Ella Baker Elementary School put their names through the same process, and so the final names that were submitted for students to vote were the Ella Baker Badgers, Bears, Bumblebees, Elephants, and Elk. Those were the choices, and drum roll please, the mascot, the winning mascot was...
The Ella Baker Bears.
The Bears.
All right. I would now entertain a motion to approve the nominated bear as presented.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Sage and seconded by Director LaLiberty that we approve the nominated mascot as presented as the mascot for Ella Baker Elementary School. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
We have mascots.
All right,
Great.
we now have mascots for our two new schools. So the next item on the non-consent agenda is EL3, Communication and Counsel to the Board. So Dr. Pierce?
So if you turn to tab 10, we have, for your review and approval, EL3, Communication and Counsel to the Board. All of the areas are in compliance in terms of the evidence presented in alignment with the current policy, and the full document is found in your board folder. And so the recommendation this evening is for the Board of Directors to approve the monitoring report for EL3, Communication and Counsel to the Board.
We will put forward a motion, then discussion will happen. So I would now entertain a motion to approve the report.
So moved.
It has been moved by Director Carlson and seconded by Director LaLiberty. Okay. To approve the monitoring report for EL3. At this point, I'd like to open it for discussion.
Is this the point you want to discuss the amendments, or is that a later point?
This would all be around approving the monitoring report currently as is and how it was presented in regards to the compliance, and if there's any questions around that. Any concerns? Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 And no one opposed. Excellent. Now it appears you had some questions that you wanted to say.
I think now would be a good time too.
Well, I have what I'd like to propose is some amendments to the EL3 that I'd like everyone to take a look at. I think here's some hard copies for those of you that didn't memorize them when I sent them out electronically.
If I could ask a question, what I would like is to be able to, the ELs, in order to put is possibly consider that this be on a future agenda item, to be able to go forward. And we've talked about needing to revise our ELs and look through them and dealing with reasonable interpretation. Does Chris have one? Yep. Okay. You have one?
Are we talking about this, or are we just moving on?
Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to thank Mark. I think these are some good ideas, and I echo Mark's sentiment that we look at amendments to EL3 as part of the work plan of the board, and I hope that we add that to the work plan.
Any other discussion on that?
I would only ask that I realize we will need a work session probably on this. I would appreciate it if we would hasten that schedule.
Excellent. The goal will be, we'll sit down and come up with that plan. Our goal we had spoken about briefly with all our executive limitations from our extended board retreat is to consider looking at that reasonable interpretation and that component. And ideally by the end of June 30th was going to be our goal to have worked through most of these. EL4, we've had some questions, and EL3, so those will be the first ones that we start to work through.
I'd only hasten to suggest that we make sure that these are considered and decided upon by the end of the school year, because I don't want to see this lapse over into next year, because next year I want to have a clean slate of making sure we have this information.
Okay, agreement? So our goal would be by June 30th. So we'll go working through the work plan, and we can have that put together to looking how that's in through. Okay? Our next, sorry about that. All right, the next item on our agenda is ends result 1 on mission and vision. So in this case, we do have a presentation. We have all received a written report as well. So I will ask John Holman to please step.
Turn it to me.
And I'm going to hand it over to Tracy.
Thank you. Okay. Great. So I need someone to help me click, and John and I are going to co-present this. As the board knows, there was some extensive conversation at the extended study session in March about our end results presentations, and we learned a new framework to apply. And so we've already done the other ERs this year following the old format in the old framework, but we had the opportunity, even though it was a quick turnaround, to apply the new framework to ER1. So as Siri mentioned, I took the framework, did the written document in alignment with the framework, and then we put the presentation in the same framework. So it looks a little different from the previous ERs, and as you know, as we worked through this, the team thinks it's a very effective way to present the information. So you do have the full written report under tab 11 to refer to as we go, and I'll take us through some of this, and then John's going to take us through some of it. So we'll go ahead and get started, and you need to click a little more. Thank you. Okay, so end result 1 is our biggest end. It's our mission and vision. It's why we exist as an organization and what we're trying to accomplish for students. So our mission is for each student to graduate prepared to lead a rewarding, responsible life as a contributing member of our community and greater society. And our vision is every student future ready, prepared for college, prepared for the global workplace, prepared for personal success. It's just important to acknowledge and remind ourselves that all of the other ERs are really leading indicators toward this big accomplishment of this end, which is our our biggest end. So as we thought about and worked through putting this big end into the new framework, in March, there was discussion around sub-ends, that when you are looking at a big end, whether it's a big end around literacy or a big end around math, or in this case, a big end around graduating future ready, there's sub-ends. And so we identified the 3 sub-ends for ER1 as really defining what we mean by graduates and graduation rates, and then enrollment in college-level coursework in high school, and enrollment in post-secondary in a post-secondary institution within 2 years of graduation. So you'll see when we get to the policy interpretation part of the report why these sub-ends are so critical to meeting the big end of graduating future ready. So for each, we've organized both the written report and the presentation to go through each of those 3 sub-ends and to speak to the policy criteria, the observable conditions, alignment to ends, the targets and rationale for those targets, and then present what we believe is sufficient evidence or potentially partial evidence toward achievement of the end and the rationale for why we believe it's either in full achievement or partial achievement. So that's the structure that we're going to use. And if you want to also follow along with the full presentation, we will now be on page 6, graduates and graduation rates. So some of this is included in the all of this is included in the written report, and then the written report also includes some additional context information. But just to call out, we've never really, as part of ER1, defined what we mean by graduate or how does graduation year get established and some of those things. So as part of the policy interpretation, we're now including that graduates are interpreted as students who have met graduation requirements for their assigned year. And in order to graduate, students must earn credit in all required areas, and those areas are specified and mandated by the State Board of Education. Those state graduation requirements are aligned to college entrance requirements. So the new 24 credit requirement, students earning those credits in those areas have the eligibility to enter a 4-year college or university immediately following high school. It's also important to note that demonstrating proficiency for learning the state standards in English language, arts, and mathematics in terms of taking and passing the state assessment is interpreted as, if you can do that, that's part of graduating future ready, because those standards, based on Common Core, provide clear and consistent learning goals that are designed, by design, they're meant to prepare students for college, career, and life. So the standards that students are required to show proficiency on in those assessments are research and evidence-based. They are clear, understandable, and consistent. They're aligned with college and career expectations. They're based on rigorous content and the application of knowledge through higher order thinking skills, and they are informed by other top-performing countries to prepare all students for success in our global economy and society. So I want to call out, and it's here on page 6 in the written report, that then the interpretation is, the superintendent CEO is interpreting that students who graduate having earned all the required graduation credits and having met the state graduation requirements, that they are prepared to lead a rewarding, responsible life as a contributing member of our community and greater society, and they are graduating future ready. Again, this is one sub-end. There's 2 other sub-ends that complete the full picture. So then we get to the observable conditions and targets for ER1. Again, just now focusing on the graduates and graduation rates sub-end. Our target is 100% on-time graduation rate, and that is the number of included in that is what we present is the number of non-graduates, and this actually happens prior to ER1, with reasons and dropout rate as measured by district data. And we also have the same target for extended graduation rate. So when we set these targets, we said we want 100% graduation rate, and we're also looking for 100% extended graduation rate. That's our aspirational goal. So our commitment and aspirational goal is to 100% on time and extended graduation rate. However, since that is an aspirational goal, and it's a multi-year effort to reach that high aspirational goal. We interpret sufficient evidence as specified as follows. So if you go to the next slide, that sufficient evidence exists and that we're making achievement toward that end if 85% or more students in a particular student group are graduating, if that student percentage shows an improving 3-year trend, and there's no more than a 2 percentage point decline in the 3-year trend, and if the district is ranked, if our ranking is in the 80th percentile of the 49 school districts that are over 6,500, or that the percentage of students graduating is between 71 and 84% if the district rank is in the 94th percentile. Now, where did that come from? I just want to call that out. Those business rules are the same business rules that inform the color coding data overview sheet. So to get a quick glance at where we're making progress toward achieving that or we're making maybe partial achievement, you can see just at a glance on the color-coded sheet that is page 3 of the written report. Okay, all right, we'll keep going. So again, I sort of spoke to this already of why is that it being interpreted as reasonable and sufficient evidence toward accomplishment given the high aspirational goal of 100%. We also are not just looking at the all-student group. So since that criteria, we look at it by student group, which you can see on the color-coded sheet. Any student group meeting partial achievement of the end, we believe provides evidence that full achievement of the end has not been accomplished. So what you'll see in the presentation tonight is for certain student groups, we say sufficient evidence exists toward achievement of the end, and for certain student groups, only partial evidence exists. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the lead-in, if you remember, that's part of the new framework, and then we go through the actual results. So this is how we're interpreting the policy. Again, we're only focusing right now on the one sub-end. Now we're going to get into the results, and then at the end, we'll draw conclusions and share those conclusions with the board, as well as talk about some of the strategies that we're using to achieve the ends and improve the ends. So for each of these parts, I'll take us through the policy interpretation part, and John's going to take us through the results.
Great, thank you. And so jumping right into it, as you know, we do currently have a 93.3% graduation rate for the all-student group. That is an extremely high graduation rate when compared to our comparable districts. That's districts 6,500 students and larger. That actually ranks first in on-time graduation rate, and that ranks fourth. We rank fourth in our 5-year graduation rate, which is our extended graduation rate. Both of those come with significant effort by our schools and district, and those are very good numbers, high numbers, but we know that there's additional work, and so we're going to kind of go through some of the exceptions, as we might call them. We know when we look at our data and our student groups that there are gaps present when we look at race, ethnicity, program participation, and students that are identified as low income. We do see gaps in both on-time and extended graduation rates. When looking at our race and ethnicity data, particularly looking at our Black African American students, we see that currently their on-time graduation rate is right around 79%, but when comparing it to those 49 large school districts, we rank 30th. And so that is data that we pay attention to and look at, and it causes us to need to know what other districts are doing to not have those large gaps. We also know that when we're looking at this, we are seeing a slight increase for our Black African American students, and we also know that the five-year high at 88.5% of the extended graduation rate is an all-time high for that group, but it's also the lowest performing group. And so that's all data that we know and pay attention to. When looking at our students receiving special services, currently have an on-time graduation rate of right around 77%. It's important to note that that ranks third among our comparable districts. They also have an extended graduation rate of around 84%, and that's the 5-year graduation rate, and that actually ranks first among our comparable districts. We know that there's a gap of about 20% for on-time graduation rate and about 15% for the extended graduation rate, and there's been a slight decrease in the gap for on-time graduation rate, but by and large, it's remained consistent over the last 5 years. When looking at our students participating in the English Learner language program, we see that there's been kind of some inconsistent results in on-time graduation rate, with a smaller gap for the extended graduation rate. And we also know that we rank about 18th in our on-time graduation rate.
That slide also calls
thank
out
you.
the exited ELL students, which is something that the board has asked for, and that gives us good data in terms of how our students performing once they have exited ELL, which is quite a bit higher than students who are currently in ELL.
And it shows that our exited ELL students are performing similar to non-ELL peers. And when looking at our low-income students, we see that they have an 85% on-time graduation rate, which ranks about 15. The gap in on-time graduation rate has decreased over the last 5 years by about 9 points, but we also see that the extended graduation rate gap has been persistent over the last 5 years.
So we're only a third of the way through. We'll move on to the next sub-end around this big end, which is enrollment in college-level coursework in high school. So if you want to follow along on the written report, we're now on page 11. So in terms of interpreting the sub-end, college-level high school coursework is interpreted as dual credit courses. So a dual credit course is a rigorous course taught in a college or high school that provides students the potential to earn both high school and college credit. Dual credit programs include advanced placement, Cambridge, career and technical education courses that offer dual credit, what used to be called tech prep, college and the high school courses, and running start courses can all result in college credit. It's important to note that in today's world, 2/3 of all jobs require some post-high school training or education. So taking dual credit, and why we pay attention to dual credit, is because taking dual credit's connected to higher high school graduation rates, college enrollment, and degree completion. So this is an indicator of our preparing students to be college, career, and future ready. So therefore, we're interpreting that students who enroll and demonstrate success in dual credit courses show evidence of future readiness, especially college preparedness. When it gets to the observable conditions and targets, again, we have a high aspirational targets that we have set in that our target is for 95% of 11th and 12th grade students to be enrolled in a dual credit college level course and earn a B or above. We also have a target of 95% of our students taking at least one AP exam and 95% of our students passing an AP exam. When it comes to interpreting sufficient evidence toward achievement of the end and our rationale for that, we're looking for 85% or more students, again, knowing that the 95% aspirational is a multi-year target. The immediate is for 85% or more students to be enrolled in dual credit and taking and passing at least one AP exam. And if student performance shows, again, it should say an improving 3-year trend, and no more than 2% point decline in the 3-year trend. Again, these are the business rules. It looks a little clunky on the slide, but it's the business rules that we determined that informs the color coding data overview sheet. So you can look at it as the green and light green areas are where we're interpreting sufficient evidence toward achievement of the end, and the yellow and red areas where we're interpreting partial achievement. So I kind of just already spoke to this slide, but again, since we're looking at it by student group, that third bullet is really important. We're not just looking at the all student group and saying we're good. We're looking at it disaggregated by student group and setting that same target for every single one of our students. So now the monitoring results for enrollment in college level coursework in high school.
So when looking at the all-student category, we see that 88.5% of students do enroll in dual credit coursework, and that 85% of the students that are enrolled in dual credit coursework receive a B or higher in that class. We also see that 29% of our high school students take an AP exam, remembering that AP is one of the ways students earn dual credit. But we also know that 80% of students that are taking AP exams receive a passing grade, or a passing score, excuse me. Similar to our graduation rates, we do see that gaps persist for dual credit accrual for race, ethnicity, program participation, and low income. When digging into the data around race and ethnicity, we see that Black African American and Hispanic Latino students have lower participation in dual credit coursework. We also see that over the last 5 years that there's been increased participation by both Black African American and Hispanic Latino students by about 20%. We know that gaps remain consistent in participation and performance, particularly participation in AP exams, and you can see performance on AP exams has been similar for our Hispanic Latino students, and you can see kind of a big jump for our Black African American students, and then has been relatively consistent over the last 3 years. When looking at our EL students, you can see that there are pretty consistent gaps in both participation and performance for dual credit, and a consistent gap for AP exam participation. But then when you look at the performance on AP exams, it's actually striking that it was relatively consistent with peers, with a decrease in the last year of data there, which I don't have a reason why. It's just interesting that for 4 years of the data, they actually were performing similar to peers for those students that took an AP exam and were EL learners. When looking at our low-income students, we see that, by and large, consistent gaps are present across all 4 of these data slides. We also see that participation has increased in dual credit coursework by about 20 percentage points over the last 5 years. I think that's extremely positive to point out. And you can see that the gap has slightly decreased for dual credit participation. There's been a slight, I will use slight, increase in AP participation with a relatively interesting increase in performance by about 10 percentage points over the last 5 years in AP exam passage rates.
Okay, that brings us to our third subend, which is enrollment in a post-secondary institution within 2 years of graduation. So post-secondary enrollment is interpreted, again, if you want to follow along in the written report, we're now on page 17. Post-secondary enrollment is interpreted as enrollment in a 2 or 4 year public or private technical college, community college, or university. We know that not all jobs require a college education. However, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, unemployment rates are lower and lifetime earnings are higher for college graduates than high school graduates. In addition, college graduates are more likely to receive benefits such as health care from their employer, and college also encourages workers to excel in the workplace and gain new knowledge and experience. So in general, post-secondary education provides more opportunity for students to experience personal and career success. So that's why we are interpreting that students who enroll in a post-secondary institution within 2 years of graduation show evidence of future readiness. Our observable conditions and targets for this particular sub-end, again, we've got a high aspirational target, if you go to the next slide, and that's for 95% of our graduates to enroll in a post-secondary institution within 2 years of graduation. So we track student attendance by college type, as mentioned, too, for public, private. And given, if you go to the next slide, that we have that high aspirational goal, like the other sub-ends, we are interpreting evidence toward achievement and progress toward that high aspirational goal as 85% or more students, or 71 to 84% of students within that group, if the student performance shows an improving 3-year trend. So again, back to the color-coded sheet, often we're looking at performance, rank compared to other districts, and performance trend over time. So again, a multi-year effort to reach that 95%, and given that we're tracking by student group, acknowledging that in any student group not meeting that established 85% criteria or the 71 to 84 with the improving trend is evidence of partial achievement of the end. Okay, so on to the monitoring results.
And it's important to point out that when we're looking at enrollment, you'll see that there's times where we're referencing enrollment within 2 years and enrollment within 1 year. The enrollment within 2 years, that data set actually allows us to look at trends, but it doesn't allow us to rank, where the data within 1 year allows us to rank, but it doesn't show us trends. And so that's why we go back and forth, and it's data that we can consistently pull in that manner, and so that's why we're using those data.
And just real quick, thanks, John, for pointing that out. On the data overview sheet, you'll see 2 rows, one for year 1 that shows rank, and then the next one for within 2 years that shows the trend and the percentage.
Yes.
Go.
Great. And so you can see here that we do have post-secondary enrollment of 83.7 for the all-student group within 2 years. That's actually an increase over the last few years, and so that is a positive trend. We actually rank 3rd in overall enrollment within 1 year of graduation. And so we see that as both of those data points as positive. We do see some gaps consistently with enrollment in post-secondary for race, ethnicity, program participation, and low income, but there also are some positive data points in these data as well. And so when we're looking at our race ethnicity, really there's, we have a 3-year data set here, and the data is inconsistent with enrollment, but we can see consistently that our Black African American and Hispanic Latino students have a lower post-secondary enrollment than the other race ethnicity groups. And so that's data to be mindful of. When looking at our students receiving special education, you can see that there's been a positive trend over the last 3 years, with the last data point having 67.7% of students enrolled in post-secondary education within 2 years. We also know that our district ranks first in with our comparable districts of post-secondary enrollment within 1 year of graduation. And so while we rank one, and we know that within 2 years we have almost 70% of our students identified as special education enrolling, we still want to see that, that enrollment percent increasing. For our English language learners, again, there's some inconsistent enrollment for our students that are graduating that are still indicated as English language learners. Kind of the consistent data here is between our non-ELL and our exited ELL. You can see that there's been kind of a consistent gap over the last 3 years, with that gap closing as well, or reducing over the last 3 years as well. And for our low-income students, while there's been increased enrollment over the last 3 years, the gap has remained extremely consistent.
Okay, so that is the interpretation, rationale, alignment to ends, and monitoring results for the 3 sub-ends. And then we've developed one conclusion for the entire ER for consideration of the board that could inform a potential motion for the board. So that conclusion is that we have sufficient evidence of achievement of the end for the all students group, and we have partial evidence of achievement of the end for identified student groups. Again, you could reference the data overview sheet to identify which student groups were identifying as the identified student groups. So reasonable, we believe that reasonable interpretation does include observable conditions, targets, and rationale that align with the ends policy and represents appropriate targets for outcomes given our high aspirational targets. And while sufficient evidence exists to demonstrate that the sub-ends, 1, 2, and 3, that we just went through of the larger ends policy, that they have been achieved for the all students group and for some student groups, depending on the particular aspect of the end. Evidence demonstrates only reasonable partial achievement for other student identified groups. So, an easier way for the board to think about it is the green, the color-coded sheet. Green would be the where we believe sufficient evidence exists, and it's the yellow and red shaded areas where only partial achievement exists. So the final part, in addition to the conclusion just shared, is a brief opportunity for us to talk a little bit about some strategies to achieve the ends. And I want to point out that the program reports that we do throughout the year are really, whether it's part of an actual executive limitation board policy or we address it in a program report, that's been our attempt to highlight on an ongoing basis the means that we are striving toward to accomplish ultimately ends and ultimately this big end. So if you want to turn to page 21, bless you, of the written report, 21 and 22 provide some additional information about what we're doing currently and what is being planned evaluated. So I'll just highlight kind of the high bullet points, and then you can look for more specifics in the written report. But our building continuous improvement process, aligning that process to our end result process is something that we continue to work on. The data displays, the dashboard that is now for the board is also for principals, so they can be looking at that same data and setting those same goals for students. And our director of school support helps support our principals in that data analysis, as do a number of our other program directors. Our high school and beyond plan and transition plan efforts are designed to ensure that every student is being supported in developing an intentional plan for post-high school. We have college-bound students. Those are students who are identified as in a cohort as eligible for the college-bound scholarship. They're identified in middle school, and there's work being done with those students as a cohort all throughout their middle and high school to ensure that they are following through on that commitment that they made in middle school. You know, we are working on implementing for next year. We're planning the implementation of a 7-period high school schedule that will allow students more opportunity for remediation, enrichment, and acceleration. And we have a new 18 to 21 transition program. In terms of what's being planned or an evaluation phase, it's showing up in both places, but we are planning for that high school, the 7-period high school schedule. We're planning for it this year to be implemented next year. We still have the work happening around school start times and the evaluation of a potential additional 18 to 21 transition program. So those are just some of the things we wanted to highlight, more specifics in the written report. So that's our new format. That's our new presentation. And thanks, John.
And
back over to you.
Thank you. And I will open that up for discussion. Thank you, John. Any comments, questions?
Comment. Tracy, John, excellent. Everyone who worked on that was really good. Very impressive that you were able to turn around in such a short amount of time since our extended study session. A tremendous presentation.
Thank you.
Putting into effect all that we discussed. So I really appreciate it. It was excellent.
Thank you, Eric.
I concur. I'm really enjoying some of these trends and the breakouts. Every time I see the samples, the students broken out by never ELL versus exited versus currently in ELL, it blows my mind. These kids who have been through, if I understand it correctly, ELL is 3 years. That's how long it lasts. And yet they're performing just like their peers who spoke English to begin with, which is extraordinary. I'm not too worried about the ELL pass rate on AP exams. If you're still taking ELL and you're trying to take an AP, that's fantastic, but I'm not worried about whether you get a 3 or better. Other than that, the trends for low income were actually, particularly in the 4-year graduation rate, were positive. I mean, we're bumping up against the ceiling for the non-low income kids, 95% plus, which is great, but that is a very positive trend over the last 5 years that we're pushing from less than 75 to almost 85% for the low income kids. I definitely want to see that continue, and I'm proud of you guys. Whatever we're doing some things right, and let's keep finding ways to improve. I didn't have anything that particularly concerned me. I do. Sorry. There's one slide where when I dug into the actual numbers beneath it, you had N less than 10. Again, this is just getting back to the ELL AP courses. When you tell me that 85.7% of N less than or equal to 10 kids passed an AP course, you've just told me that 6 out of 7 kids who took an AP course test passed it. When you tell me that 66.7 of less than 10, you've just told me that either 6 out of 9 or 4 out of 6, because we don't report below 5. Anyway, you can keep going. So the 33.3, nothing to worry about. That's the difference between 3 out of 9 and 6 out of 9, that's which kids showed up to take the test what day. So that particular trend I have no concern over whatsoever. Anyway, overall, I am very impressed. I'm, as I said, echoing Eric's comments. Having talked about it, I knew this could be useful. Watching it done quickly and done quite well, is really impressive. This is the most useful report I've had in a decade on the board. So thank you.
Wow. Go at the next football.
Director Sage, you look like you have a comment.
I am also impressed with the amount of data and the way in which you presented it. I think this is how we look at some of those gaps and try and figure out, what is the missing piece here? So I agree. It's a very impressive presentation. I have a quick question. In the very slight number of kids who happen to drop out, somewhere, page 21 is written, high schools receive monthly progress updates regarding student dropouts. And I'm just curious, how do you get that information?
Mm-hmm. So we have what's called, and you're referring to, just for everybody's benefit, page 22 under the continuous improvement process, the third bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we have what's called a P223. P223, is that the right? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
A data system that allows us to track students, and John, you can help me out here. Fine. Well, and I'm having a hard time explaining it, but the P223, so our data people, and we should give big kudos to Tim Krieger, who's our Director of Research Evaluation and Data, who, as you know, has done all of the data work in terms of putting the data into Power BI, into the board dashboard that you all have access to.
It's impressive.
And what that allows us to do is really focus on the interpretation part and just be able to really copy paste, or all I had to do is put it into PowerPoint from the data system. So it's made the data displays. It's taken a lot of the. Exactly. So I just want to give a big shout out to Tim and his work on that. Back to your question. So the P223 is where we can see and track if students are not in our system and going to another system, because based on that definition of graduate, that graduating class is established at 9th grade, and if the student stops attending here and isn't enrolled in another place, then that student is in that dropout category. We've, over the course of the past several years, really instituted some assurances that everyone in the system is paying attention to student by student what's happening with our students, so we can do outreach if we have students who are non-attending. Do you want to add to that?
And so over the last, I would say, 4 years, we've taken that report and tried to make meaning of it almost by using pencils and highlighters. We did some data merging, trying to make meaning of it. Tim has now, he takes that data on a monthly basis, puts it in Power BI for principals to be able to have access to their data around students who are identified in quote-unquote negative status. And there's a variety of reasons why you can be negative status. You've dropped out of school, and we need to re-engage, get you back into school, whatever's the right fit for you, figure that out. Other students, there's times they've transferred, but the data systems aren't talking to one another. We want to make sure that we have clean data as well. And so we have, Tim does that on a monthly basis. It's actually, that report gets updated in real time almost every night. And so Tim takes that snapshot on a monthly basis, pushes it out to DSS and principals so that they have the updated data and so that they're making sure that they're following through with both data and re-engagement. And it's schools, it's Tim, it's also our data processing team, because they're the ones that if a school says, no, this isn't a student that's in negative status, they moved, the data processing team helps track down where that student went to make sure that the other data system is talking to our data system, so that student is no longer in negative status.
Great.
And we have very few students that truly drop out. And what we found is anytime a student drops out, many adults know them, and re-engagement efforts or engagement efforts before they dropped out have already been relatively thorough, but this is just that reminder to make sure that we're continually trying to re-engage students.
Great, thank you very much. I know it's a small amount of students. I was just fascinated at the ability to be able to reach out to them and re-engage, so that's good news.
Thank you.
How does that
data track perhaps kids that parents have decided to homeschool? Is that trackable or not? I'm assuming that must be very difficult. To be quite frank.
So if a parent wants to homeschool, they have to complete a declaration of intent to homeschool form, and that gets filed here at the district and is tracked. So if you're a homeschool student, then you're not included in that data set because you're not in our system. You're homeschooled. Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I'd just like to take a moment to thank you for the report as well. It was impressive to be able to see the trends across the board, shows the additional work that's gone in to really focus on those things, and to see it fairly consistently across multiple subgroups. So we were gaining ground across the board, so that was really good to see, and it was good to see the complete comprehensive set of strategies and what's going forward. So thank you in creating that capacity to be able to see. So. And sort of summarizing what I'm hearing tonight, it sounds like everybody is in agreement with reasonable progress being made on the ends result at this point in time and in the format of which this is laid out. Is that true? All right. Then with that, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
I would like to try to entertain a motion that has the structure we were provided so that we can get it documented in the way we need it. Sorry, I should have dropped that to you first.
I'm 15 minutes from turning into a pumpkin.
I know.
I move approval of accepting the assertion of progress in ER1 report.
Not quite there.
Did I get close?
To put the conclusion up?
No,
okay.
Yeah, could you put it back up again?
Yeah.
I'll just.
John, would you mind putting the conclusion slide back up?
Yep.
Thank you.
No need. So I move to approve the superintendent's monitoring report on ends result 1, which is our mission and vision, dated. Well, I don't actually remember the date of the report itself.
It'd be today.
As presented today, recognizing that the information is aligned with the ends policy and represents appropriate targets for outcomes. Further, this monitoring report demonstrates that while there was not full achievement of the ends policy interpretation, the board believes that the evidence demonstrates reasonable partial achievement towards the end policy interpretation. And again, we commend all the work of staff on this.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, so we have a motion that has been proposed by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Dr. Carlson to, I'm going to shorten it, approve the ends result with reasonable interpretation with partial achievement in certain areas. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Excellent, thank you.
Great.
We can. So I appreciate all the work with that.
Thank you. We can.
So do we need a motion to
So
punt
there
those to
is
the next
a-
agenda?
Yes, so in looking at the agenda and the time, we do have 2 program reports that are on there, and we are looking at the possibility of moving those to our next meeting.
Oh, we're on a roll.
And the
Let's keep
students
going.
report as well.
Okay.
We're on a
Are
roll.
we
We'll
okay
keep
with
going,
that if we
folks.
move those to the next meeting? Okay, so because now we will hit the last item on the non-consent agenda, which is the superintendent search process. And so,
Yeah. So do you want to
well, there is a
Preface that.
situation recommendation that might be, I think it would be beneficial, yeah.
Okay, so tab 12 is the situation recommendation, and as the board knows and the community knows, on April 10th, I announced my plans to step out of the role of superintendent and into the role of director of college career readiness. We have a retirement on the team, and I'm stepping into that role. In this new role, I'll be able to focus. It's actually really exciting when you think about the ends result report that we just did. I'm excited that I'll be able to focus all my time and energy in really helping ensure our students meet our vision of every student future ready. And so in this role, this the director's responsible for engaging students in career and technical education, WANIC program development and coursework, and in building opportunities for internships and externships for students, and continuing to cultivate relationships with our community and business partners to benefit district students. So I'm as you know, I'm excited about this decision. I shared the decision with the central leadership team and the district leadership team last week. I've been humbled and honored to serve in this role, and really humbled and honored by the incredible amount of supporting emails from colleagues and parents in terms of just recognizing me for my service, and so that's been really humbling too. On April 11th, the board announced that you will be initiating a national open search with the support of a consulting firm experienced in identifying and recruiting leaders for high-performing school districts such as ours, and both internal and external candidates will be considered. So recognizing the importance to students, parents, staff, and communities, as well as the future of the district in selecting a new superintendent, the board has stated they will seek input from the community throughout the process and develop a search timeline and provide opportunities for community involvement in multiple ways. So the recommendation tonight is for the board to provide an update on the superintendent search process for the community.
Okay. So first off, thank you for your time as superintendent. We will have much more conversation. There's still much work to be done. But in that time frame, we are now at the position where we will be looking for a new superintendent to fill this position. So we have been in the process of holding that discussion of figuring out what those next steps are, and that is that national search piece. And so I will entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move that the board hire a national search firm to assist in the search process, including developing a community engagement process, assisting the board in developing a community engagement process, and identifying and recruiting candidates.
Second.
It has been moved by Director La Liberty and seconded by Director Sage. It has been a very long day. That we hire a national search firm going forward. All those in favor? Actually, I should ask for any discussion at that point. I apologize. Go forward. Any discussion?
I just wanted to say a thank you to the team. I've spent more time on the phone this week than I do in a usual month, and I know I've spent much less time on the phone than you have, Siri. So thank you for helping us and leading us into the beginning of this process. So I'm proud of us so far, and I'm excited about the next step.
I second what Chris said.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, so then for the motion on the table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then the motion carries. We will move forward with hiring a search firm and going out for that. Any other questions? So we are still in the process, and there'll be more information coming out as we learn more as we go through this as well. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We have decided that we will move the program report, which was on world language and mission and vision, college and career readiness, as well as our SOUP report, which was on health services. We will move that to our next meeting in order to expedite this a little bit more. And so we will then move to any legislative update.
Right. So WASDA is in the process of forming its legislative priorities right now, and it's important that we, as one of the larger districts in the state, participate in that, and that we determine our own policies. Our priorities. Thank you. So I would hope that we can work that into our work plan in the coming months, so that we can engage robustly in that process. Because it's important that WASDA does a lot of great work, but it's important that our voice is heard.
Do you have a timeline as to when that would?
Yeah.
Or at least if you can provide that, then we can make sure to build that in.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to get it wrong. So let me circulate that to the board.
And so is everybody in agreement that we go ahead and build that into the agenda, into the work plan going forward so we can do those priorities? In the past, we have done it with a committee of 2 of us, working with Dr. Pierce and Janine is who it was the last time. She's retired. I guess it would be Dr. Holman at this point.
I'm in favor of efficiency, and I think a fair number of our points, I mean, were multi-year objectives, so it's more of an edit rather than a draft. I hope.
Well, I see Director Carlson's face when we were discussing having this in the work plan, but I would like the whole board to be a part of it. And my take is I think the whole board should be a part of this rather than a committee. I think there's an educational piece for the board too, and understand and making sure that we're all on the same page.
So is there agreement to set that up as a work session then, as we go through and look at that? I mean, that's what it sounds like it would have to be.
As long as it's sufficient.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a full work session.
Okay.
We work it into one.
Okay, as long as I just know how we're putting into the work plan. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing is any follow-up for the board? Any other future agenda items? We have a legislative priority. We have EL3, which we'll be working through in that as well. All right. Any debrief or board member comments? Then I think I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry, before I can. Next board meeting, May 7th, 5 p.m. we have a study session on facility planning, and at 7 p.m. will be a board meeting here in the board room. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
All right.
Moved by Director Carlson and seconded by Director La Liberty. The meeting is adjourned. All those, do I have to say all those in favor?
Yeah, sure. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Motion carries. We're adjourned.